All right, let's do a little social experiment on this episode. How many of you are willing to sacrifice characters, morals, and principles for cold, clean cash and winning and whatnot? Because Stephon Diggs is still out there, and there are headlines galore about Stephon Diggs, and there are certainly arguments to be made in all directions about Stephon Diggs. But on this episode of Seahawks Digest, I would like to analyze and break down whether or not this article is correct that the Seahawks should have zero interest in Stephon Diggs, or if he, I don't want to say is the missing piece, but could be a very large piece in terms of helping build the Seahawks into an absolutely unstoppable juggernaut. What's happening, everybody? Christian Pedersen back with another episode of the show that is sick and tired of free agency and trades and all these rumors, just wants football back, but football isn't back, so we got to talk about what we got to talk about on every episode. I also got to give you a really quick Prize Picks ad read before we get any further. America's number one sports recap. If you use the code DIGEST when you sign up, they'll give you $50 when you play your first $5 in lineups. Okay, I'm getting faster at reading that. I appreciate you all putting up with that. Stephon Diggs. If I told you just in a vacuum that these numbers were available still right now, just if I didn't tell you what player it was, and I said, out there is a free agent who did this last season and could most likely be signed for a 1 year try it out sort of condition, like something really, really cheap. So you could acquire this and still have the $20-something million in cap space to go make other moves. I don't think that there is a single one. Like, you're lying to yourself if you look just at those numbers and say to yourselves, oh, the Seahawks don't need that. We're perfect as is. The wide receiver room has gotten a lot better. JSN obviously is beyond elite. I think Rashid Shaheed's going to have himself a fantastic year, given that he will have been with us now for a full offseason, baked into the very concept of Brian Fleury's offense. Cooper Kupp, the wily veteran, maybe doesn't have the huge numbers to go along with it, but I think he has the presence and will conditionally still play very well in the slots that we go to him. Beyond that, the wide receiver room gets a little bit thinner. There's some, we can pick some you like a guy for a reason beyond that point. I don't think there's anyone else there where you're like, oh my gosh, so-and-so is just an absolute behemoth in the making. So again, adding these numbers would, in theory, for if you get it for dirt cheap, be great. But those numbers come with, if you Google Stephon Diggs, the first thing that pops up sure as hell ain't football. So that's where I ask you. And that's where this article that I saw that kind of got the juices flowing on this talks about how under the previous admin or regime or whatever you want to call it of Pete Carroll, the Seahawks were big on second, third, fourth chances. And now we're not that. And Schneider is not somebody who's necessarily going to risk team chemistry based off of going to just get a guy for the sake of getting a guy. I think it's a precarious balance, because certainly the last thing that you want to do is bring in a guy who, when it all goes bad, everyone can be like, yeah, we saw that coming from a mile away. We saw that coming from space. People on Mars saw that coming. Stephon Diggs might be the next Antonio Brown. We might just be at the very beginning of another generational crash out that is going to play out in progressively more and more public ways until it's very clearly like, oh, this dude's brain is just toast from CTE. I also, though, at the same time, I get that it is summer and I'm talking about stuff for the sake of talking about stuff, but I can't help but keep coming back to the numbers and the fact that these have been done. Stephon Diggs has been really close a bunch of times. So Stephon Diggs has done all of these numbers with teams that have made it deep playoff runs, with the Bills, with the Patriots. And this is not a guy who gets scrub numbers in garbage time because he's the only option that Kirk Cousins had to throw to in Atlanta. And it wasn't that he just picked up. Like, if all of this was conditionally like, oh yeah, you know, he's doing this against just jabronis, and you're just like, okay, you know, then I think that I could be doubly convinced that if it was good numbers in a really bad situation plus bad headlines, I'm not interested in that. But if this dude is on a team every year that is really good and he's really good, it to me does connect enough of the dots that like there still is some football left in Diggs, and I would be at least kicking the tires. I don't know what is in the terms of like metaphorical hierarchies, like what's one step past kicking the tires. If that's where you go into the dealership to at least let the guy talk to you for what a sweet deal this is. But I don't see, unless Diggs is out there trying to actively negotiate for some multi-year thing, but he's in his early 30s. He's at the precipice where stuff does start to decline. I don't see why you wouldn't at least do your due diligence. I get the concept of not wanting to give problematic guys second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever chances it is. But it's also not like the Seahawks, for all of the deficiencies, if you will, that they have in the wide receiver room, you're also not asking Diggs to come in and be the dude. I mean, I don't even know if he'd be wide receiver. He would be competing with Cupp for wide receiver 3. And that, to me, is lethal. And again, I get that I might not know all of it. So as I do the math in my head, I'm here. I want to hear from you guys. Drop a comment on this. If Diggs comes in and really only wants to be wide receiver 1 and whatnot, I think you can suss that out in the pre-screening process of just talking with it. But if you lay out a very clear, look, no one else will touch you. You're radioactive, but we need you to be wide receiver 3. You're not going to get an infinite amount of targets. You're going to just be an option and a part of this team. But if you think that you can do that and do that while shutting the hell up, just playing some football, I come back to those being really tantalizing numbers to have that kind of a guy who's had postseason experience and wants to get over the finish line finally. That's what I got for you today. Let me know what you think. I'm guessing most of you will be out on this one, but for those of you that are in, I would love to hear from you. Before we get out of here, got to say thank you again to Prize Picks, sponsor for today's video and America's #1 sports pick app. The best way to get in on the action. And right now, if you want to get in on the action for the first time, you can use the code DIGEST when you're signing up, DIGEST, and they'll hook you up with $50 when you play your first $5 in lineups. If you're a returning user, no worries. They still got you covered. Taco Tuesdays. All Tuesday, every Tuesday, their board is serving up discounted projections. You can close out your week with your Flex Friday bonuses. Use your Flex Friday to boost your payouts by up to 40%. It's code DIGEST, DIGEST. When you're signing up, they'll give you $50 when you play your first $5 in lineups. Thank you very much, Prize Picks, for being the sponsor of this video and of the channel. And until next time, we'll talk to you guys soon.